Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast, this time talking about the Timeless Children, strictly speaking the Timeless Child, which is episode 10 of the 2020 series. All over, calm down. We've got a Christmas special, possibly a New Year's special. I would say it's probably a New Year's special, let's go with that. And in that New Year's special there will be, of course, well, some spoilers I'll talk about at the end. But I think it's time for us all to calm down. Take a chill pill, or whatever the kids these days are saying back in the 90s, and just breathe. It's all going to be all right. Anybody out there who's just having a complete meltdown, it's fine. Look, if you don't like what's happened to Doctor Who, and I've said this before many times, just ignore it, buy some Big Finish, and listen to some nice nostalgia. You'll be fine. Not all Doctor Who is for everyone. Not all Torchwood is for everyone. Not all Sarah Jane is for everyone. And I know we have ownership. Well, we don't. We're just fans. We're the people stuff just happens to. Which gives us a victim mentality on several fronts. But that's really not on. We're not victims here. What's happened is everything we've ever known has been slightly changed. Slightly. So, was my prediction right from last week? Was Brendan the Doctor? Gets a bit more complicated. Yes and no. Brendan was an allegory for the Doctor. Now, there's been a lot of statements made left and right about what's going on, which is very nice. But the one thing that a lot of people seem to have missed is what this episode's actually about. This episode is about missing episodes. Bear with, and I'll try and make that the only time I say that in this episode. Doctor Who does not exist in all of its lovely format. There's about 94, 97 episodes missing, and it's going down, but there'll always be something missing. Hence the reason that some episodes are being animated. More Troughton than Hartnell, but let's just face it, that's still pretty good. But they are loose cannon recons, yeah? They're reconstructions. And that's what's at the heart of this episode. The Master has gone to the vaults and found, basically, lots of episodes of Doctor Who are missing. Episodes that some of us didn't even know existed. Remember that feeling when you're an old school fan back in the 80s when you found out stuff was missing? Well, that's what he's done to everyone. He's made us all go, oh yeah, it's missing. And the Brendan story is a reconstruction that's being played directly in. They've used the best available material to play it back to its target audience, but it's not the original. There's a few telesnaps available that they can intersperse with the flashbacks. But this is telling everyone that not only are there 94 episodes of Doctor Who, the TV series, missing, there's actually whole regenerations missing, adventures that we know nothing about. Adventures that Big Finish can swoop in if they so wish and fill in the gaps. They can cast it with anyone they fancy and it'll all be all right. That's what's at the heart of this episode. Not some great emotional speeches, not some fantastic acting or the battle of the Cybermen or even Cyber Time Lords, the Cyberlords, or they're not the Cyber Masters, it's pointless. None of that. It's all about missing episodes. For me, anyway. And that's what kept me going. I'm surprised nobody else has even mentioned it or spotted it. But that's what it's all about for me. Of course, you've got two major storylines. You've got the Cyberman, you've got the death particle. That's useful. It's sort of Chekhov's death particle. Let's mention it early on because we know we'll use it later on. And yes, the master shouts, "Hi guys, go through here." Oh, something up with the subtitles. They may need to fix this before they program it. Island and island are spelt differently. I'm dyslexic and even I know that. Island, the place where the reconstruction takes place. The Brendan storyline. Am I ginger? Yes, you are. No, you're not. Not in the actual footage. And so on. So, are we happy that the Mobius Doctors are now canon? I don't care. It's really fun. But my initial reaction, my gut-wrenching moment when I was watching it was, oh, just leave things alone. But then, of course, I was inspired. I was inspired to write a sketch for the Oodcast, which I'm sure they'll play at some point.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because we do have another sketch submission on that very theme from Michael from the Tim Dog podcast.
My lord?
What is it, generic guard?
It's the crack, sir. There's a signal coming through.
That's impossible.
Oh, it's worse than that. It's from the Doctor.
Which one?
The one with the chin that plays Prince Philip.
Ah, the one who thinks he's the 11th or 13th, maybe. Does the hand regeneration really count?
He's on the planet Christmas. The one which occupies the same coordinates in space.
Yes, I know what it is. It's all very complicated. I get it. What does he want?
He's dying.
Is he, though? Really? I mean, you know.
Remember, we didn't tell him about the infinite amount of regenerations, my lord. After all, it would really mess with his head and practically destroy the ending of the Curse of the Fatal Death, and I do like Joanna Lumley.
Good point, generic guard.
Well, what can we do? The transmission has changed. The companion's asking for help now.
The one who ends up playing Queen Victoria? Tell you what, just hang up. He'll regenerate anyway and we can take all the credit. Oh look, Daleks!
That's if they make it. And I just liked it. Now, there are little things that also help, as well as the Mobius Doctors, which everyone's gone on about. But is having your brain wiped the real reason behind William Hartnell's fluffed lines? He's just recovering from having everything removed from his head. That's why he's all over the place. Yes, there are some fantastic lines in this episode. Great moments. I'm from Yorkshire. That's practically a love letter. I get it. And it is. It's true. I'm in Yorkshire as we speak. Yes, Tectone is one of the Scooby-Dooby-Doo begons. And what we're left with is what we were always left with. A bit of mystery. Yes, it might or might not contradict some other stuff. But you know what I'm happy about? The one thing it does contradict that makes me so happy is half human on my mother's side from 1996. Now consigned to the bin of history. Yes, he might have thought he was human, and yes, he was wrong. That will make up for any use of Graham Harper as a potential Time Lord. Oh, my autograph collection's going to have to be so much different. Yes, the division existing is fun. It's a replacement for the Celestial Intervention Agency, which admittedly was just a play on words, the CIA interfering with the cultures of others. Because the CIA was big news back in the 70s. It's just like calling UNIT the Unified Intelligence Task Force instead of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force. It's a different twist on the same recipe. Tiny moments like them trying the costumes on and me instantly going that's going to end badly, and it not. Very Roy Castle, and it's fine. My only nagging question that's left over is what happened to the humans who'd already gone through the wormhole? Did the Master kill them all? Or were they taken somewhere else? I mean, let's face it, the Doctor had been turning up on the other end of Gallifrey, on the other end of the wormhole all this time, selecting and collecting people. Would have been an option, but there wasn't anybody there. Yes, the Master's thing about the Cybermen losing all of their biological components and turning themselves into robots was great, because let's face it, I love a robot, but there really are far too many of them. Another question that's been bugging me is, after 57 years, the only people who really knew about the Timeless Child were a bunch of killer flannels on some poor, unregarded desert world. probably left over from the Time War, but these killer flannels, these towels of doom, seemed to know more of what was going on. So, as we leave the story, there are 3 TARDISes in the universe. Well, there's probably a shed load of them left on Gallifrey who could regrow. But you know what's important? It's important to have your own thoughts on this, to have your own opinions. Don't be dictated to by other people. Yes, at the very end the Jadoon will turn up and you get a lovely David Tennant-esque what, and some people are left on Earth, all in time for a new story, something beginning with R of the Daleks. Now that is a Clayton Hickman t-shirt waiting to happen. The something beginning with R of the Daleks. And of course, now that Barrowman was earlier, I suspect he'll be along for this. 18 months will pass in the flicker of a random heartbeat, or heartsbeat, whichever you prefer. I liked the tiny Cybermen attached to the exploding bomb. I liked the performances only on my second watch, but that's because on my first watch I'm just so sad. My wife turned to me halfway through the episode, this was before she nodded off in boredom, and she said, "Hang on, they've just made a big thing about learning about regeneration, but the one thing they didn't cover, they just said, oh, and then we discovered time travel." In passing. And I went, oh, it's okay, that was covered in 1973. And then she looked at me with disdain, or at least one of the emotions that I'm not really familiar with. Because she's right. A lot of people are just going to go, they what? They just happened to invent time travel? Now, I suppose if you're living for a very long time, that's the sort of thing you can do. So regeneration always has to come first. So was my prediction right, and Brendan was the Doctor, and Ireland is Gallifrey? Yes. And no. Am I annoyed that Gallifrey has been destroyed yet again? Yes. Am I happy that there's a 5-year plan and probably will result in the return of Gallifrey and I can do a little dance? I am comforted by this. If you're one of these people who only listen to the Tin Dog podcast when, well, the TV show is on the TV, then it's been nice seeing you and nice listening to you. And see you in 18 months or 12 months or 9 months if it's Christmas. But why not hang around? I review a whole host of other things. Not just Doctor Who. So until next time, be seeing you. Hooverville has moved. The 24th of October 2020 brings with it the best little Doctor Who convention in the world. Tickets available from the Derby Quad website. Guests announcement soon. That was the Tin Dog Podcast. Available on Spotify, iTunes, Acast, Stitcher and wherever good podcasts are found. Get early access to content by subscribing to the Tin Dog Podcast YouTube channel. You can support the show at patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on Twitter at tindogpodcast or email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. All of the things discussed are the intellectual property of others. No infringement is intended. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.